Curious about how Wowrack can power up your business? Join IT consultant Shirin Elkoshairi as he connects with our CEO and co-founder, Ed Osckar, in a conversation that dives into the most frequently asked questions from our clients. Get the inside scoop on how Wowrack can help you thrive.
I'm the co-founder of Wowrack. Started the company about 24 years ago now. And you probably have heard a little bit about Wowrack, but I think my day-to-day role here nowadays is just leading a lot of effort internally to better our process, especially towards compliances. We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, and also ISO 27001 compliant as well. So just a lot of effort to drive the team towards being compliant and being efficient in what they do day to day.
We really found ourselves getting involved in security discussions, hardware licensing, a lot of telecom circuits and connecting data centers and connecting offices. And so we're trying to really be holistic. I thought you guys would be a good fit for firms that just really don't have like internal IT support, where and they were smart enough to at least listen to me about like why like an AWS or something wouldn't relieve them of needing to hire that talent.
I think to dial it really down, where we have been really successful at is I think in the mid-market area or maybe SME area. How we, the most successful client that we have are typically organizations that have IT needs, of course, especially in a compliant environment, of course, right? And they have IT staff as well, so they typically have IT manager, desktop person to support desktop, and maybe even systems and network engineer. But when it comes to operating their infrastructure or cloud environment 24/7, typically these organizations, these are not their bread and butter, and their IT staffs are typically having challenges to operate the environment 24/7, just literally by being up 24/7, and also train themselves to upkeep their skill set to what's the newest in the market right now. So we are the perfect fit for those kind of organizations. Like we typically just plug right into their IT team. We work alongside their IT team very, very closely, as if we are their internal team. But really what we now typically own and run are infrastructure, right? That consists of systems, networks, oftentimes security as well, and also oftentimes cloud, whether it's hyperscaler or whether it's obviously in our walls.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a flexibility you don't see with like a lot of the bigger shops and things like that, where you could really extend. So I think that it's not really a challenge, but I think I could see you guys, I could see engaging you guys in some opportunities where it'd be a slam dunk fit. I think, are you guys focused or on any like particular like verticals? Do you find yourself in like healthcare or anything specific?
Not really. I mean, we do have. And I'd really hate, I'd hate to answer this question because we do serve a lot of different verticals. Typically, the verticals that we have the most success in are the verticals that need some kind of compliances, right? So this would be the healthcare. This would be financial, and this would be folks that are. Healthcare. Healthcare is pretty straightforward because typically people in healthcare, they are not really highly skilled in technology, and they would definitely need help. Financial is kind of split there. If it's really like a financial applications or financial technology, I feel like some of those guys, especially that run software as a service, typically they love the hyperscaler more compared to outfit like us. But if it's like a really traditional like financial institution, right, whether it's credit union or companies that serve those financial institutions, they would be a perfect fit for us. Another verticals that we do really well is in manufacturing. So typically, these people need to run some kind of ERP and obviously CRM and obviously some accounting systems in-house. Especially the larger manufacturing companies where they start writing their own software. We find really great fit in there. Basically, same stories, right? These guys are really good at manufacturing stuff, but they need a lot of help and hand-holding and someone who can run their IT, their cloud operations for them. I mean, to put it in the simplest term, we are your sysadmin, we are your network admin, and we are your cloud admin, backup admin, and security admin. That's what we are.
Do you guys have, when you guys do have to put something in your data center, do you guys have any of the certs that like allow the client to just check the box so they can tell their boss like, hey, they're SSAE or something?
Yep. So we are SOC 2 Type 2, and that also includes SSAE 18, right? Actually, SSAE has been deprecated quite some time ago. But we are SOC 2 Type 2 that typically check most of the major box and compliance. We're also ISO 27001 as well. So that also checks a lot of compliance, especially for companies or organizations that does business globally. ISO 27001 for technology is more, I guess, recognized compared to the SOC 2 Type 2, which is more kind of a US thing. And we also work with our customers that do their own audit. So let's say they do their own HIPAA or PCI or even SOC 2. But oftentimes they would need their service provider like a Wowrack, right, to provide them with answers and solutions to some of the audit controls that they are facing. So we also work with our client and support them in order to have them kind of pass all of those compliances.
When you're so in that realm that you're in with the client size that I can imagine with like manufacturing and healthcare, how comfortable and how engaged are you guys on the whole M365 side when they're starting to talk about like, hey, you know, we're doing like hybrid AD, or do you guys have like an M365 partnership where that you can pull them into your tenancy, or how does that work with you guys?
Yes, so the answer is yes, and yes. The only thing, okay, I will answer that in a little bit, but the only thing that we don't do is, again, endpoint and client configuration, right? So, but to answer your question, on the server side and on the cloud side, configuration side, right? So anything with provisioning new tenant, migrating tenant, which means like setting up Azure AD Connect, to migrate or to integrate their on-prem with Office 365 that we do all the time. Migration from Exchange on-prem to Exchange online, we do that all the time. I don't see a lot of projects where people are still using like the traditional Microsoft OCS. I mean, this was probably like back like 5 years ago or so, but we have actually done projects migrating Microsoft Link at that time to Microsoft Teams, Microsoft SharePoint on-premise to SharePoint online. So basically everything on the back end we can help do, right? Including all of the Azure configuration, MFA, Azure AD, Intune, anything on the back end we can do. But everything on the front end, we would probably either work with the internal IT staff, which is what I said before.
Have you guys ever had anyone with like equipment in one of the Seattle data centers that's not yours? How comfortable are you guys managing systems that are in like someone else's colo?
So very comfortable. I would say, okay, so I'll answer that in two parts. So things that are physical, like literally we need to have someone drive there and manage the data center. I mean, that's not really our business. But if we have to do it, and if it's like within like, you know, maybe Everett all the way down to Federal Way, maybe Tacoma, we can probably accommodate that. That's not a problem. But if this is managing data center in a sense where, hey, we actually manage the server on the system side, the network, and we're responsible to set up remote connectivity to all of them, operate them, make sure backup runs, make sure troubleshoot. Managing those kind of an environment, whether it's in a third-party data center, whether it's Washington or anywhere really in the world, or managing it in clients' infrastructure, meaning like it could be in their headquarters, let's say in Portland or in Los Angeles or in, Frankfurt. Doesn't matter. As long as we have access to those environments, we can help manage and operate it. I mean, obviously, working with a location that is not close, meaning like we can't just literally drive there. We have to partner with someone to manage those hardware, right? So typically, if this is a client that have local people, or especially better local IT person, that's like the best, right? And for if this is like a lights out type of environment, like a data center facility, let's say in you name it, right? Let's say it's Los Angeles, for instance, then we would partner with typically the data center provider to provide that remote hand as needed. Right now, we technically manage about 50 different sites. 9 of it is our Wowrack presence data center, right? But 40 of them are not our facility. They are either in other data center facilities, or some are in client headquarters or client office facility.
All right. And if you guys do bring in like a private cloud client and they're like, no, you guys do it, is that typically like a single tenant architecture that you guys build on like VMware and let's say they're a Windows shop, you would just build it there with their own physical or virtual private firewall, and then just build it that way, and then just you've got a fee, for every component?
That's correct. So I would say about 90% of our deployment is that way. So it is single tenant. Let's say we sell 515, a private cloud environment, right? You'd have your own private firewall, private layer 2, layer 3 switching and routing, private hypervisors, private storage, and so on and so on. But we also have a multi-tenant platform that we can provide to customers as well. Typically for customers who don't have the scale, meaning like, they only have like 3 VMs or 4 VMs, somewhere that's really small, and it doesn't make sense to put them into like a full-blown private cloud because it's going to be too expensive. So we do have multi-tenant type of private cloud environment. I mean, everything is still segregated on their own VLAN and security zones. They can still have their own private firewall, typically like a virtual firewall or something similar. They probably have a shared storage rather than their own single tenant storage. So we can also build those type of environment for typically smaller client. Yeah,
it's a great offering. It's a great offering you guys have. I can see me bringing stuff that's going to be a slam dunk. It's just not going to be. This is definitely a gap in the market that is, it's tough to fill. Or like the folks that I've run across that can do this type of thing, they're really huge, and they won't touch things that are like even sub-mid market stuff they won't touch. And then the other issue we run into is a lot of these SaaS providers. So we work with a lot of SaaS providers, and they're really wild because they might have like 15 employees but have $100,000 a month spend in the cloud. Because it's like it's just a SaaS with CEO, and then like a couple salespeople, and then like the development's all offshore with some project management. And so when you look at them on paper, they're like, oh, who's this little company? I'm like, well, don't make fun of them just yet, because they spend like $80,000 a month in cloud. So
exactly. I mean, you have a great point there. I mean, we used to work with tons of those companies, especially tech startup in the Seattle area. So those guys, we typically call them the production client. I know it's a very weird name that we have. We have two types of client internally that we refer to. One is production and one is corporate. And production is basically like that. People who use the system for software as a service, for e-commerce, for online stores. So typically a lot of those companies, you're right, very low headcount, but their spend and their need for help in infrastructure are also huge, right? Because oftentimes they just don't have the people to help run it. So I see a lot of opportunities for those guys, especially guys that have been deployed in the hyperscaler, and they want to take some of the workload back to repatriate them into like an on-prem, and they needed help, but they don't want to buy hardware, they don't want to touch it. We do have quite a few clients like that has worked really well for us. Awesome. So maybe just one more, just kind of in my head, as you are talking about those SaaS providers, they spend 80, 100K a month in Azure or AWS or whatnot. So we, like a large part of our client is in that production pot, right? So we can, when we build private cloud for them, it's typically built on open source platforms. So if you have clients that wants to port like their AWS or their Google Kubernetes containers and things like that, we can help build a private cloud on open source platforms that is fast and reliable and scalable and redundant, and help the client operate it, right? And we actually also have a product called Wowrack Cloud X. And if you'd like to, we can probably schedule a time to do a demo one day. But imagine it as if you were like, if you run your own private cloud, you have your own control panel. You can build and provision virtual machines from the control panel, or from an API call, or from an automated, scalable software way to deploy VMs or load balancers or firewalls and things like that. It's basically our private cloud platform that is built on top of CloudStack. But we put in like the front end provisioning systems and the portal and everything like that to help our client kind of operate it easier. So this is typically like a very good fit for those production type of client that wants open source, that wants container, that typically wants like crazy amount of speed and performance, but yet they don't want to pay the AWS price tag anymore. Right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful too. I might actually ping you guys for a demo on that. But what open source platforms do you build on? Because that's something I get asked about.
So our cloud is built on top of CloudStack, right? And it is so pretty much. So that's our private cloud. But we can support things like as simple as Zen or KVM or any Linux-based hypervisor. We use a lot of Proxmox as well for virtualization. We love it. It seems to work for a lot of our clients. And that's just the virtualization layer. For storage, we use variety of different type of technologies. One that we like the best is called Red Hat Chef. So it's a highly scalable storage systems as well. For networking, pretty much a lot of open source as well. So I can have my open source guy come in and tell you even more on what technology we use, but we are very, very friendly with open source.
Yeah, if I ever was like the CIO of a big company, I would just build it all in Red Hat. So yeah, I'm a big fan. No, that's a great way to go. Last question, and I got to hop to my next call. Could you guys do this private cloud exclusively in Canada?
Yes, absolutely. So you name a spot, right? Canada, Frankfurt, wherever it is. For us, it's just a matter of getting the rack space and shipping gears, and typically deploying it ourselves. And once it's deployed, we're going to have the partner data center manage the hardware, but we manage the whole operations. In short, as long as the deal is worth it for us, we'll take it. But specifically in Canada, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, we already have partners in there, so it'll be very, very easy to deploy into their data center.
All right, perfect, guys. I've learned a ton. Thank you so much for the education and the time. I could definitely see us doing some damage together in the marketplace.
That's lovely. Thank you so much.